I'm gonna first talk for a moment about Tokyo. There we go. So what happened in Tokyo? Anyone knows what happened in Tokyo? No? Okay. So Anthropic had the Claude Code with Claude developer conference. They have 3 versions of that in around this time of the year. The first one was in San Francisco about a month or so ago. The second one was in London and then in Tokyo. So this is where they bring the developer community together, where they bring business community together to showcase what the developments in Claude, in the Anthropic ecosystems are, and to also showcase what other people and companies are doing with Claude. As an ambassador, I still had to pay my own flights and hotel. We don't get the nice perks, but at least we could get in. Like I think there's 500 people per day, and there was 2 days, and they have a few thousand people apply. But as an ambassador, we did get a chance to kind of jump the queue and get in. Also, if you're keen-eyed, the picture on the right there, this is Boris. He is the founder, well, not the founder, he's the original developer of Claude Code. So I didn't grab a picture, but he showed a screenshot of a Slack message from, I think, September 2023. And it read something along the lines. So this is internal Slack Anthropic. Like, hi guys, I made something. It is using the Claude Sonnet, or Claude, back then, Claude Sonnet API, and it has some tools to write and read and search files, and I've trained it or set it up so that I can do coding with it. I think it's pretty cool, but here is the repository. Please go and give me feedback. I think it had 3 likes or 3 thumbs up. It's now one of the biggest software development tools out on the planet. So it was pretty special to hear him talk the keynote on the second day, and to meet him in the walkway to go and shake hands and have a quick chat. So, what was this about? Obviously, as I said before, it ran over 2 days in a hotel in Tokyo. It had about 500 people on each day. The first day is more about business and what other businesses are doing, what Japanese companies are doing, and the second day was more for the developers. The biggest announcement, obviously, was that Fable 5 and Mythos was announced, and then 3 days later it was taken away while I was on a plane. I landed in Sydney and had like text messages and Discord, and it's like, oh my God, they took Fable away. Like, what happened? Like, what's happening? We can talk about that in a moment. The biggest takeaway after speaking with other developers, after speaking with business leaders, after speaking with Anthropic employees, is the landscape is changing faster than ever. And it doesn't seem to, well, on Thursday, it didn't look like it's slowing down. What it means now with Fable and Mythos being suspended, we don't know, we don't really see. But even if we're at the point where we're just using Opus, the development in the space is not slowing down, and what companies can achieve and single people can achieve is quite crazy. Other big key points coming a bit from different presentations, and I think this one was mainly coming from Boris's talk. When you build something today, if you build a harness today, not if you're using Claude Code to build software, but if you build something that uses AI, that uses the Claude APIs or any of the other ones, do not build for the current model. Try and imagine where it's going. Build for the next model. The biggest part of that is harnesses like Claude Code, or if you're using things like OpenSpec or BMAD, harnesses are taking less and less prevalence. The models do more and more. And if you had the chance to play with Fable, you probably noticed that. They said the system prompt from Opus is about 120,000 tokens that is pushed in front of anything. And they deleted, I think, 30 or 40% of that once they went to Fable. A lot of the system prompt essentially went into the pre-training, and so the model is doing this now directly. And the level of kind of control is moving more and more to the model and less to the harness. So if you're the one that's building a tool to code, think about moving less into the harness and relying more on the model. And this is for the Claude models, but this is going to be true for when ChatGPT or GPT 5.6 and whatever comes out. Like, the models are doing more and more out front. If you're building with the APIs, if you're using the APIs, start having your own evaluations where you test not so much test the models, but have a definition of what is right for your use case and curate those things. Don't just assume that the next model is going to behave the same. New models all the time change how they behave, and so new models will need adjustments, so curate your evaluations. And treat model upgrades as features. So again, new models come out and new models will bring new features. So when you're in your company and you run something with the API, treat it as, hey, let's look what the new features are coming in a new model, and then build or adjust your flow around that. If you're a software engineer, and a lot of you are, the biggest thing was always, oh, I really should change this, my software. Like, oh, the libraries are out of date, or oh, we really should have done this refactor a long time ago and we never got to it. With models like this is your time to actually go and do it. So you probably heard from Jared Sommer, the creator of Bun, and maybe you know that Bun was bought by Anthropic because one reason is that Bun is what's driving Claude Code and the Claude desktop as well. And Bun was written in SIG. SIG is a programming language a little bit similar to C++ and C. And I think more out of a trial, Jared started, hey, I wonder if I can transform this into Rust. And he said, look, we had a team of 15 to 20 people, and we discussed this before, and we looked at it, and it would have taken the team probably a year. That means a year that would stop the development of Bun, a year that changes the environment, a year that is going to introduce bugs and everything. But what would have taken them a year, took them 11 days, one engineer. 6,778 commits, and apparently no tests deleted. Some added, and some changed. He he showcased a bit of their workflow, and essentially what the workflow was is the several steps. One is they had to change all the libraries in the background, so a lot of the SIG libraries had to either be converted to Rust themselves, or they had to switch over to something else, to a Rust version of them. And then they went ahead and like essentially took file by file and converted it to Rust without compiling. And then they started to go over it and evaluate what do we need to change, and then use Claude Code workflows to run the changes that they needed across the whole code base, and then starting to introduce compilers, starting to introduce compiling, and then get the errors and do the changes. And he had a little one slide where it's like the day where console.log printed something useful was a great experience. And I think it was like a day 7 or 8 or something. So that it took them that long to get everything done, but within days, they converted everything over to Rust. There were people from Spotify there as well, and there is a lot of information from Spotify of, hey, this is how we're doing things. And they have as well said, look, there is a ton of Java code and things that they had to update that they never got to, and they're just pushing through PRs by the hundreds across every month, and sometimes by the thousands, using Claude workflows, using automated systems. Not so much using big harnesses themselves, but using those tools. The other big one was managed agents, and if you have been here last month, you heard Arthur speak on managed agents. So managed agents is a managed platform for Claude. If you have API access, you can go to API platform.claude.ai, and then you can, on there, you can go and create a managed agent. And managed agents can be essentially contain the model specification, the system prompt, tool configs, and those are reusable across sessions. And then you create environments. This is how things are running, and you can let it run on Anthropic hardware, or if you want, you can run it on your own hardware. So you can set up a box that runs a command that essentially registers with the API runtime, and then that's an environment. And so you can run things managed through the Anthropic API or platform, but it's running on your computer that you control. So if you use a CLI, if you use your own internal MCPs, that's all possible. And then you have sessions, so every conversation starts a new session. And the biggest one really for me was the memory. So memory is like a read-write file system where the agent can write and read things. And those are versioned, those are persistent across the sessions. And so this is how you can make sure that the next iteration of the agent actually knows where the first one left off, or to know certain things about your process. The last one, Dream, this has been in the media for a bit, but essentially it's a batch job that can run and distill or change memory, look at what happened over the last iteration and do changes, and then create a new store. What's not on here, you can also do what's called scheduled deployments. That means it's kind of a cron job. So every hour the agent runs, or every 5 minutes the agent runs. You can also kick it off through an API call, or you can kick it off through a webhook. So it can react to outside events. If you haven't played with managed agents, I would recommend to go and do that. We had also a friend from Queensland, from University of Queensland talk. He is a professor. He's looking at how people learn and interact with machines. And he's like, look, I'm not a software engineer, but I'm an expert in my field. And he's also working with forensic experts, with the Queensland Police, and he's like, they're domain experts. They can discuss over fingerprints, but they're not coders. But now he can write applications. And he wrote a tool called Class Build. It's on GitHub, it's public, open source. And he uses that to create whole modules for his university students. You can go on there, I think you have to put your API keys in, and then you say, hey, create a module, learning module about a topic, managed agents, for example. Here is all the documentation, or go and find documentation and builds that. And he's like, I've never touched a line of code, but he built it for himself. He got it reviewed by some software engineers. And for him, the biggest takeaway is now domain experts can actually go and build things. That means for you in the companies, now your domain experts can potentially go and build things. Don't stand in their way. Enable them. Let them use tools. Let them go and develop things, because the expert trader or the expert data analyst, they're experts in their field. Use that expertise, let them build things, and then get your systems guys to look over it, and then make it secure, and then check the authentications. But don't just stand in people's way. If you want to succeed, let people build, and then take it over and distribute it across your teams. And this, I found, this is from a slide from one of the Japanese companies. Essentially, the evolution, right? We're in the 80s, we started with spreadsheets. The web came in the 90s, 2000, the smartphone. And this really feels like the software is starting to build itself. And it is, in a way, the next smartphone or the next web evolution step. These are a couple of impressions from Tokyo. If you haven't been to Tokyo, this was the first time for me. It was an amazing time. I loved it. I definitely want to go back. There's plenty more to come. We'll publish some Q&A as well with Rai and Adam, the other ambassador. But yeah, there's the first day. The first presentations are already on the Anthropic YouTube. I'm not sure if they published the second day, but the first day, all the presentations should be on YouTube soon. All right. Claude on Fuji Mountain.